You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
Jeremy, I have a question for you. One of my fun questions I always love to ask is, you never know what you're going to hear, but have you ever found anything like wild and crazy when it comes to real estate investing?
I finally figure out where it's at, and I start kicking stuff off the top of this door, and I hear, "Mommy, I want to play." So on the side of I-29, I'm showing him the video of the doll, and I'm showing him the pictures of the pole, and he's laughing. And about 5 minutes later, I don't know, 3 or 5 minutes later, he's like, I'm not going to write you a ticket. Go ahead and go, man. That's great.
Do you have one of those police stickers? And he's like, sorry, I don't have any. And then he comes over and talks to me. Well, the 2-minute overview with today's guest, Jeremy Murray. He is one of the owners of Realty One Group, who we have a partnership with the studio, as mentioned. But Jeremy has 20-something investment properties. He's got some fun stories. He also found a way to do legal wholesaling, which is a hot topic, especially in the states that you can't do wholesaling.
Yeah, and it could be like a pandemic here with states adopting legislature that is increasingly tenant friendly, and there's a lot of scrutiny right now on affordability of housing and so forth. So it's gotten tougher and tougher out there to transact as a real estate investor. But Jeremy has some pretty innovative ideas he brought to the podcast today with how to transact legally in states where it is illegal if you are an unlicensed wholesaler. So he gives some really great tactical knowledge about that. So stay tuned and listen in the episode for that. And he's done a lot in a short amount of time. He's been in the real estate biz for about 8 years now. Started in the car business for quite a while, 17 years, got a really good base of knowledge on how to sell, how to develop relationships with people, how to overcome objections, and just got real. It's a really pretty good entree into a business like real estate. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and we teased a little bit, but I don't think I ever told you exactly how I met him. I was working at an arcade when I was 16 in 1996 as an arcade manager, and there was a cleaners right next door. And we always hung out the girls that worked at the cleaners because they're all like our age. But there was one girl that was like 18 that was a manager, and Jeremy was dating her back then. And that's how I met Jeremy for the first time back. So when I tell you I've known him for a long time, that's the backstory there.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So you guys got a long history.
Yeah. But there's a long gap. I haven't seen him. So then the next time I see him was, 20 years later, and it was actually right after I bought my apartment building. He was the agent on the place next door, and it was really nasty. And I was like, I really want to buy that. And then I'm like, hey, I know you from back in the day. So that's where that's
funny. Big small town Omaha is, like we've talked about. But
exactly.
This will be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for a lot of good overview on his background, some tactical tips and tricks, and some ways to just basically make a living out of real estate after you've been in a different profession for a number of years. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode.
Welcome to REIA Radio, episode 120 with Jeremy Murray. So we haven't been in the studio for quite a while. Is there anything fun been happening with you in the last month? You last time we talked, I think you had your water damaged building.
Oh geez, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, I went through my first eviction personally that I've had to deal with for a long time. This was a self-managed property. I had a gal living there for I think the last 6 or 7 years that I actually knew from when I grew up, from a small town that I'm from. And unfortunately, she got way behind in rent, and I just got lies, excuses.
But you were self-managing.
I was self-managing, and I let it go on way too long. I did the classic blunders of self-management and just fell for excuses and had I'm a softie in general, so I was trying to be a good guy and help out, and it turns out I'm holding a $5,000 bag now, and an apartment a house that has probably $10,000 worth of damage and work that I'm gonna have to do to it. So that was a And the funny thing about this is, like, my wife, Jen, she'll never listen to this, but she's never been to an eviction hearing before, but she's, like, super curious about this because it's been such a drama.
Is it Tuesday?
What?
Your eviction hearing?
What?
Is it coming up?
No, I already had it.
Oh,
She's out.
Okay.
Yeah. So, no, we already had it. She showed up to court with me.
Yeah.
And I'm in court. I have a lawyer, right? But
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, you should probably show up for this. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, that's why I'm hiring you. Like, this is kind of how it goes. He's like, well, what happens a lot of times, at least in the state of Iowa, is you'll have legal aid will show up and they'll set up a table right outside of the courtroom. And so if you're there for an eviction hearing, they'll look at the whole docket and then they'll stop people that are walking in. They'll say, hey, do you have an attorney? And then if they say no, they'll be like, well, we'll help you and let me see all the documents. So their whole plan is to help out unrepresented residents of rental properties that are getting evicted. So, and I'm not here to say they're for or against you, but if you're in the real estate business and a property owner, they may have a negative effect on a process that you're trying to serve on somebody because they're looking for things that you did not do correctly.
And this golden nugget is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions, we have trillions with a T to lend. 844-WE-CLOSE or go online at jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
So we could kind of tie this into today's
Golden Nugget.
Where this is kind of a two-parter here. One is it's classic, advice that people give in general just about business. Don't do business or enter into an agreement with somebody that's friends or family.
Now, what if you use a property manager? Is that as big of a deal?
I would still avoid that. I wouldn't say never, because obviously I already did it, broke my own rule
Multiple times.
Because what they're going to try to do is if they know you own the property, they're going to try and circumvent the property manager every time there's something that comes up that they're in the fault of. Be like, hey, I'm sorry, really hard time. Do you mind if I, am I late on rent? Or like, they're always looking for chinks in the armor.
Oh, I had somebody in my apartment, remember? For like 3 months?
Yeah.
And then it was playing both sides. Oh, yeah, I told them. Oh, I told Ted.
Exactly.
I told them. And then all of a sudden, I'm thousands of dollars owed.
So I think it's almost worse if you have that scenario where it actually is somebody and they're dealing with a property manager, because guess what? They're going to complain to you about the property management company. They're going to probably point fingers both ways, and then you're caught in the middle, and then you're trying to make decisions based on incomplete information.
I totally forgot about that until you mentioned it.
Yeah, so just a reminder, guys, and this is, like I've been in this business for a while, almost 20 years, so I broke my own rule here and, had – like I'm owed $5,000. I probably have a $10,000 repair coming up. I had a ton of mental anguish over this because of all the drama involved with it. And this was just a drama magnet. Like, it was constant. Every time something came up, it was just story after story after story. So that's today's gold nugget is, stick to that rule. It's never going to go wrong for you if you just avoid the situation. And here's my advice. So I had Ted and I were talking right before we recorded this, but my our cleaning lady came to us and she was like, "Oh, hey, I heard that house." She's talking about the house that I just evicted the gal from. She says, "Hey, I heard that house is coming vacant." She's like, "Yeah, my son is looking for a place that'd be perfect for him," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Let me stop you right there." And I did it in a nice way, but I said, "Listen, I'm not going to rent anymore to people that I know because it never turns out well. This is never going to be a situation where you and I are going to have a better relationship because of entering into a lease agreement with a relative of yours, period. And I don't want to run that risk because I like you." That's exactly what I said to her. And she gave me the, I'll take care of you. And this and that, giving me the kind of good old, you and I are tight and, nothing's going to go wrong. Don't fall for that. That's my tip, because you have to stay strong in your stance on that and just be like, listen, I know that's easy to say right now, but if somebody owes you money or if something's going wrong in their life that I have no control over, you and I are probably not going to have a good relationship out of it because you're going to be taking your son's side.
Yeah.
So I don't want to run that risk. And that's just today's. I'll get off my soapbox now, but like it's a good reminder to hear stuff like that.
I ran my podcast studio, and now it's ruined, and I got to do thousands of dollars repairs to it. So
I know.
I'm,
God, well, hey, choose better tenants next time. REIA Radio, clearly not a good choice there.
You know, I'm dealing with my first eviction ever right now because I don't do a lot of long term.
Yeah.
And I took on a Lutheran Family Services family. They speak Swahili. And there's a Swahili rep, and the story that I've been told is that Swahili rep left. You know, they take care of everything for 3 months. They want them to get established, and then thereafter, they want them to take over the lease and move forward with it. Well, in this case, the rep quit, so there was no continued communication, so there was no opportunity for them to keep on getting
So
funding.
nobody knew how to speak Swahili, including you.
Exactly.
So the breakdown in communication caused everybody to basically like make decisions that, you know, maybe they wouldn't have made otherwise.
So I got 8 kids and 5 adults in this house,
Oh, no.
you know, and they seem like really nice people. I've gone in there multiple times, you know, because I go in and check the property. I change air filters. And the property is like not like clutter dirty. It's just like dirty. Does that make sense? Like the walls are black, you know, so like when
Kids are putting their hands on the walls and like, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And so when they move out, you know, I'm going to have to like repaint the whole house. And then I'm definitely going to just do some minor repairs and I know I'm going to put a new LVP floor in and some other stuff. I'm not going to dwell on the damage.
So you're probably $10,000 at least.
And, you know, yeah, exactly. 8
Yeah.
to 10 is the number in my head. But on the flip side of this is now I got to go through an eviction. Well, funny thing is we had a meetup group, and then and we're talking about things that we need in our business life. And it's like, I really need somebody to speak Swahili. Well, one of the members, Mary, she raised her hand. She's like, I know Swahili, and I'm like, and there was like 30 people in the room. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, that was actually really funny. So that's actually another good part of a golden nugget is you just ask if you have something that you need in your life and you aren't putting it out there to the people that you know, then you're probably not going to get it, or you're going to have a much harder time. But if you just speak what you need out to the universe, the whole, you know, Jeremy, our guest today, was talking about the movie and the book called The Secret, and the whole premise of that is basically you put out there in the universe what you're looking for, and the universe provides. That's kind of the whole concept of the book. But this is like, you need somebody that speaks Swahili, and there they were, right in the same room, right when you asked the question. It was hilarious.
Well, you know, my biggest concern here was the fact that I didn't think that they knew that they had to pay. And I didn't know they knew that they were the eviction process was getting started. So I put her on the phone, went to the property, and they're like, yep, we know that we haven't paid any rent. We know that we're we're in eviction. We know that there's court coming up. I don't know how they knew it because it's all in English. And I'm like, okay, so there's services that would take care of this, but you haven't communicated with any of the services, and I want you to know this. I'm like, here's the phone numbers if you want to take care of this. Otherwise, court's on Tuesday. And the bummer part is I had this property sold, you know, with the contingency that it was rented, because it was getting pretty good rent on it, and I was like, contingency that the rent was in there, but I put like $140,000 in this rehab.
Did I hear you right in that there were 13 people living in that house?
It's a big house. But yeah,
I would hope so.
Yeah, there's like 8 kids under probably 6.
Wow.
And then all the rest are adults. So yeah, but it's just I went to the services in person to try to save it because I didn't want these people to. I'm like, that's a big family. Where are they going to go? Put an eviction on record is not easy to get in a place. Mm-hmm. Like what?
Especially when you speak only a Swahili.
Yeah, what happens here? And they're like, yeah. So there's they started mentioning the homeless shelters that provide for families. Mm-hmm. I'm like, come on. I'm like, and the adults are working, but they've never made any attempt. I don't know. It's kind of.
What are they doing with the money? Like 5 adults working a job? Like what's the problem?
I don't know. It kills my heart that all these kids are going to be put out because my home is beautiful and it is the perfect spot for them.
Right, but you're not set up to provide that type of free service. You're not a nonprofit. You got bills to pay.
They have like $78,000 owed in rent right now.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, let's get back to today's episode with Jeremy Murray. Jeremy, I have a question for you. One of my fun questions I always love to ask is you never know what you're going to hear. But have you ever found anything like wild and crazy when it comes to real estate investment? Or do you have a wild real estate investment story, like something with a renter or something you found? I always said dead bodies as an example, but whatever you got.
I think the best one, I went up to Sioux City, and there was a house that I was going to go look at up there. And So I walk in, and the house is pretty full. Just got trash everywhere. So I'm trying to figure out how to get to the basement, and it's got one of those hatch doors, that opens to go down into the basement. And so I
Those
start.
are the worst things ever.
I'm trying to sell a house right now that has one of those. It's like literally in the
kitchen,
It's,
or whatever.
it's in the kitchen, but it's in the food area.
Yeah.
Like the pantry. So you open it up, and then you got make sure you don't bump your head getting down there.
Right. I mean, and here's the thing, right? I'm 6 foot tall, 270 pounds, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to I don't know what it is about opening that hatch door. I'm like, all right, apparently I think it's going to take me too long to get out of there if I find something. But so I finally figure out where it's at, and I start kicking stuff off the top of this door, and I hear, "Mommy, I want to play." I'm like, what the hell? Right? So I kind of jump back. There's a doll, like this little kid's doll.
He thought it was
right?
a kid.
And it's everything that you're thinking, right? It's like the gnarly blonde hair, and it's got no clothes on it, and it just talked, right? And I'm like, so now I'm trying
that's
to.
creepy.
Now I open this hatch. I'm like, I ain't going down there. No, I ain't gonna do it. So I keep walking around this house, and I find a light up self-installation stripper pole.
Oh,
And
keep it?
well, clearly,
Yeah,
I mean, you can't just let something like that
that's
stay.
that's a great gag gift.
Right. I gave him another $50 for the house.
You have a party, just put that right up in the living room and just see what people say.
So I ended up. I look at the house. Great story. Took some pictures of it. Great Facebook post. Because when I love going into a house that's all full of stuff. People love seeing that. If you put pictures up of that on your Facebook, people cannot wait to look at all the pictures of, houses that are just trashed.
He used to do a lot of fun
And,
posts like that. He doesn't do it anymore.
I still like doing it. So I took a picture of the doll. I took a video of the doll, and then I took a picture of the pole and put it up. And the comments were amazing. But so I'm driving back from Sioux City.
You got the doll in the backseat.
And no,
Okay.
I left the doll. I left the doll. We'll have the clean out crew handle that. But I did bring the stripper pole box because you can't leave
It's
that.
new. I mean,
Right.
It'd be a waste of money.
So I pulled off the interstate on the way back at Missouri Valley and grabbed a cup of coffee at the gas station. Apparently, I ran a stop sign on the way out of that gas station, and so I get up onto the interstate, and Missouri Valley police officer comes blowing up behind me and pulls me over. So we're on the side of I-29, and he comes up and he's like, "Where you heading, or where you coming from?" And I said, "Well, I'm just Sioux City. I was up there. I just bought a house." He goes, "Oh, you're thinking, I must be like a retail buyer. I just bought a house." No, I buy houses for cash, and so I just went up there and bought one. And he's like, "Oh, you're kidding me! I never." And so on the side of I-29, I'm showing him the video of the doll, and I'm showing him the pictures of the pole, and he's laughing. And about 5 minutes later, I don't know, 3 or 5 minutes later, he's like, "I'm not gonna write you a ticket. Go ahead and go, man. That's great." So I said to him, well, let me ask you a question. When you're driving around Missouri Valley, do you ever come across a house that, seems like recently vacated, where it gets a sticker on the window, or, where it just becomes recently vacant? He's like, all the time. Would you mind giving me a call on those when you see them? I'd be happy to pay you a referral fee for telling me about it. Yeah, I can do that. So then I get back to the office. I'm like, all right, everybody's got to hear this story. Not only did I not get a ticket, I picked up a referral. And so far, that guy, he sent me a house about 3 months later, and I ended up buying it. I think that's my favorite story about finding something in a house and then turning it into. I'm literally sitting on the side of I-29 showing him the videos, and and he loved it, and it got me out of a ticket for running a stop sign.
Last time I got a ticket, I had my son in the back of the car. And we had a rental vehicle actually from the BMW dealership he used to work at, and so we're speeding, and he pulled me over, and I go, "Carson," "ask the cop for one of those stickers." The police stickers.
Oh yeah.
So we hear the cop, he rolls down the window. He's like, but before the cop even talks, he goes, "Hey, do you have one of those police stickers?" And he's like, "Sorry, I don't have any." And then he comes over and talks to me. And there's no way, because he was playing good guy with my son, and there's no way he's gonna give me a ticket. Warning ticket, baby.
Nice. How far over were you?
So it was like a 35, but I like pulled out of a neighborhood and I was trying to get ahead of traffic, so I jumped on it. So I think I was going 50, but I wasn't like speeding down the street. I was just jumping ahead to get out there because there's a lot of traffic. And anyway, so yeah, but it was a fun little BMW, and they're quick, and is what it is.
Well,
I talk myself out of most tickets. I find, but
I've gotten out of more than my share.
Yeah.
The last one I got, there was no chance. State Patrol. He walked up. I'm like, "Hey, how are you?" He goes, "Great, license, registration." Like flat
He
face,
shut you
flat
down right
grill.
away.
Just like, don't even try it. Just come on. I'm like, all right, well, let's go.
So in your real estate business, when was the first deal you bought? Now you mentioned you got into the being a licensed agent in what, like 2016? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
How long after that was it that you entered the investment side?
So I bought my first rental before I was a licensed agent. Just bought it off the MLS.
Oh, okay.
Found a house in Ralston.
Yep.
And ended up buying it and had it for quite a while. 5604 South 79th Street. I still remember the address. But when I
always remember your first.
Yeah. What's interesting is I have another one, 5604 North 79th Avenue, that I'm working on right now, and it's literally causing me problems because I keep saying south, and working, like I said, my introduction was really when I started finding that I could market. I didn't have any listings, so I started finding that I could market those HUD listings, and that was what turned me on to working with investors, and. So it was I really got in the swing of working with investors in about 2000. It would have been about 2017 when I was getting started and decided this was the direction that I want to go in. Like I said, I didn't enjoy sitting in open houses on Sunday. First-time home buyers, home inspections, closing gifts. I understood it all, did it all, but I like that I could just call somebody up and say, "Hey, I found this. Would you be interested?" And I could just call the same people over and over. And it was actually entertaining. When I came over to Realty One, the joke would be, Jeremy just sits in his office on his phone. Half the time his feet are on his desk, and boom, he comes out and he goes, "Yeah, I sold one." But I just found, just the same way when I was in the car business that. When you wholesale there's a whole wholesale industry for cars. The auto auction that sits out there off the interstate. There's wholesalers in the business that go from dealership to dealership. If the BMW store trades for a Ford Explorer, that's not a piece of inventory that's going to be best served at a BMW store. Vice versa, Ford store is not going to do very well with a 5 Series BMW. Their salespeople don't know how to sell it. So there's wholesalers in that business that know a little bit about everything, and they'll buy that 5 Series, and then they'll take it to the BMW store, and then they'll sell it to the BMW store for a profit, and they'll buy that Ford Explorer the BMW store has, and they'll take it over to the Ford store, and then Ford store has a Volkswagen, and they don't need the Volkswagen, so they just go around and place inventory. It's a very similar process to what happens in real estate. One person, there's certain people out there that buy duplexes. There's certain people out there, I don't want a duplex. I don't want anything under 12 units. Finding that person that came across a 12 unit that doesn't have a need for it and taking it to, I know this person over here. And that whole world in the car business was built upon relationships. You call the guy at the Lexus store and say, "Hey, give me a buy bid on this." It was all built off of that network and the personal relationships, and then I found, lo and behold, the investment market is kind of the same in real estate, and so those concepts of okay, I've just got to find anything, I just need to know who buys that, and that way I can create those avenues going back and forth.
If you're wholesaling a property and you're trying to identify buyers for potential, inventory that you come across, what is and I'm asking this as a guy who's talked to hundreds of wholesalers over the years and spent a lot of time talking. What are the things that you have to know in order to be able to go out and find what someone's looking for? Like, do you have a short list and a way to approach an investor that wants to buy these things where you're not going to take forever on the phone with them and waste a lot of time? And I can always tell when there's a new wholesaler on the other end of the phone. And like they'll be pitching me like they've been doing this forever, and like I can tell, and I'll be like,
Right.
so when did you start? And then there's a pause, and be like, well, actually, I'm just started like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
It's like, you know what I mean? So what's the sweet spot there? Like, how do you build a good buyer's list and not become irritating to people that you're calling?
Yeah, I think the first thing you've got to do is who I tell the people that I work with, no is okay. If you don't want it, just tell me no. And the ones that drive me nuts are they say, yeah, I think I might have somebody for that. And then, you call them back. And you call them back, and no, I don't need that. Don't have it. Like, or if a property's not for you, that's okay with me. Just tell me right up front that property's not okay with. I don't need that. Don't have anything to do with it. That's not my neighborhood. And then that way, when I'm going through a list, when I run into somebody, then I know, I can call them up and say, hey, I've got this one at 123 Main Street. Would you be interested? No, perfect. I've got this one at 123 Main Street. Would you be interested? Yeah. Tell me more about that. Because I have done more to try and qualify the buyer's list to find out what they're looking for, that makes it easier. Knowing and then just trying to be of value to the people that I work with, so that I can work with the same people over and over. Typically when I have an issue. In the two houses that one of the two houses that I bought in the last week was a wholesaler that thought they had somebody, thought they had it sold. Worked all the way up until 2 days before closing, and then they called him up and said, "Hey, I'm not going to buy this one." And lo and behold, if you looked at the other person's Facebook page, you could see where they were just trying to tack on a little bit extra money and sell it.
Daisy chain.
Right. And, and that's what you're going to, until you get the opportunity to work with the same people over and over again and realize that's not what this person's doing. Or I'm okay if you do that, if you tell me that's what you're doing. If you have somebody for something and you know that there's an opportunity for both of us to win together, I'm okay with it.
Is there any way for you as a wholesaler, when you're talking to an investor that you think might be a buyer for either a property you already have or one that you're going to be looking for them, is there a good way for you to like suss out who is a legit end buyer for these and who is just a poser? What questions can you ask that might help you out as a wholesaler knowing this?
Where are you coming up with your numbers? I think I think just that simple question. Gosh, that's interesting. Where are you coming up with your numbers? And the people that know what they're doing will say, well, I've got to put a roof on. That's gonna, it's 4 squares. That's gonna be X amount. It needs flooring. There's this amount of square footage. Somebody that can talk the lingo. Of real estate investment is somebody that I understand. If somebody goes, well, I got to go back and I've got a partner that I deal with, and then I've got to run this through a system because I took a class 3 months ago. Typically that if it's going to start that way, you're typically going to have that confusion, all the way through the deal. So, the first question I ask everybody is where's your line of credit? And because I want to know, I had a guy a month ago said, well, I'm Wells Fargo. I said, okay, hold on a minute. Do you have a line of credit or are you pre-approved? Well, I'm pre-approved. Okay, that's a very different scenario than having a line of credit. So asking those questions and listening for the answer. Like I said, if you ask somebody, just that question, how do you come up with your numbers, and they don't know how they're coming up with their numbers, well, that's typically somebody that I don't find is probably going to be able to facilitate that transaction.
That's interesting. Like I find myself doing that to them when they're calling, like to figure out how long they've been in the business and are they actually legit. Here's and this is just my stuff, so I don't know if anybody else reacts the same way I do, but I have a feeling they do. A common approach for newer wholesalers when they're calling an experienced investor because they want to find an end buyer to a deal is they'll act like they've been doing this a long time. They'll act like they have a house under contract. 3.2 in great neighborhood, blah, 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 way below market. And then you get them on the phone. They're like, oh, that's already sold. You're like, no, it didn't already sell. You just made that up. Like I'm not stupid. Okay. You don't put this out an hour ago and then I'm talking to you on the phone and tell me you already have it sold. That's bullshit. Right. So I just like, there's got to be, it's kind of a dance a little bit, but it feels so slimy a lot of times when I'm talking to wholesalers, because I'm like, I know you don't know what you say you know. I know you don't have that experience, and like it's irritating after a while if you're experienced, you know?
We're talking about wholesaling a lot, but here in Nebraska, wholesaling is technically illegal. I mean, there's some workarounds, and so you're still working with wholesalers.
But it's not. I mean,
you're doing wholesaling, though.
Yeah.
So
And he's licensed.
Yeah. So can you tell us the way that you're going at it?
Because
just being licensed, you can't do wholesaling. There's still more you have to do behind it, right?
Right. So what we've gone more to, that's made it easier is just closing on them. So. Yeah, when obviously there's the availability of the funds, and that's kind of what we're working towards in the sector, like the hard money lending. We're really just looking to kind of underwrite, the deals that we're doing. We've been closing on more of them because it opens up a wider spectrum of who I can sell to. If I'm trying to wholesale it before I own it, then I'm working with a small percentage of people. Because I don't have the availability of using the whole market. Mm-hmm. But once you close on it, well, the thing is all right, and this was kind of when we went to design what we were designing, that we have a title company. We can go ahead and close on it, and we're not going to have to, because we have that joint venture title company, it's not quite as expensive for us to close on it. And for me, it's worth the holding cost. It's worth the cost of the money, and it's worth the cost of putting it through the title company to go ahead and close on it and own it. And then I can open up to a wider spectrum. Now I can put it on the REI meetup page and say, I own this house. I'm selling it, without any repercussions from the state or the real estate association.
Now, but with the ones you're not closing on,
right?
Like how are you getting away with that?
Then there's a sheet. So when you go to the seller, you're going to. So if I'm going in there, I'm telling them I'm a licensed agent. Disclose. Make sure that everybody is aware that I'm a licensed real estate agent. Disclose to them what I'm doing. I'm going to buy your house, and then I'm going to market it, and I'm going to sell your house, and I'm going to make a profit on it. I find that most of the people that got mad, and the reason that we have the wholesaling laws that we do now is because people were telling them that's not the case. Well, no, I'm just trying to build my own portfolio, and then the people find their house on a website.
And then they do an inspection, and then all of a sudden there's 40 people at their house.
Right.
This is my contractor / partner.
It's so awkward.
All of them. There's
But before the laws
came
came in place, I'm like, if somebody asks me who I am, I'm not going to lie because I would get in trouble.
Right. And so there's a document. So you have the purchase contract, and then there's a document that is the permission slip, and that permission slip is to market the property. At that point, when you're a licensed real estate agent, you can go ahead and list your equitable interest in the property, and it's not a contract. It's not a Nebraska listing contract. There's a separate document that allows you to fill it out that says that you're going to now you have the ability. Once you filled out that listing contract, now it's covered under the supervision of a brokerage. So then that person can market it. So then that gives me the ability to be able to market the property. So there's a website called Listings Unlimited. It allows you to go in and build a website, a personalized website for any house. You can mark in there that it's an off-market property. So that way everybody who's looking at it, now I can advertise that website because it's branded with me as Jeremy Murray with Realty One Group Sterling. So it's branded, so it ties back to the brokerage because it's not going on the MLS, but then I can create a website. And through that website, then I can send that website out and have people look at it. You need two sets of documents. You need a seller's property disclosure and a lead-based paint disclosure from the seller to the wholesaler, and then you will need another one filled out from the seller to the end buyer. And thing is if you're going to be in the business, I think you should be strong enough to sit in front of your client and sit in front of that seller and explain to them, this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I make money, and this is this is a scenario I'm creating for you. Because when I'm going in and I'm talking to clients about it, what I'm telling them is I'm the easy button, right? You work with me, I will. There's no inspections, no appraisals. I'm gonna, I can close in 2 weeks or whatever works best for you. Anything that you don't want, leave it right on the floor. No matter what it is, where it is. Don't clean the house. Don't fix anything. I'll handle everything. In contrast, what I'm going to do with the house is this. And that allows me the opportunity then to market that house. And so that was, talking with some people that were involved in this law and things of when it came out. That was the process that the state of Nebraska wanted. And so that's what we've been doing. But like I said, we found the best margins for us have been to close on it and then open it up to a wider spectrum of buyers.
Before all the laws changed, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but 80 to 90% of all the business I did as a realtor was I had about 300 clients nationwide, and I'd represented them as buyers. And then I had about a list of 40 to 50 wholesalers. And I had myself, and then eventually I had a team member that called through that list 3 times a week. And hey, what do you got? Did you gain any new leads? Did you gain new leads? Mm-hmm. And then in our list of 300 buyers, we had it all broken down. What part of the city they were interested, what type of units are interested, what are the parameters? And you could organize it 20 different ways. So if we got a property, then we'd match it to those buyers. And then the first person I'd call was the person that bought the most properties from me already.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we prefer the local ones because overall it was easier, but we went by quantity.
Yeah.
And then and we would sell every one of those and they were, some of them were shady, some weren't, but regardless, we came in, my buyer paid my commission.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's how everything's going to go here soon. And so my client paid my commission. If I had to represent both sides, I doubled my commission. Mm-hmm. So when, and I'm like, hey, my binder fees at that time was 3%. Now it's 5%. And if I can represent both sides, then I'm going to charge you 6%, And so I was very upfront with how I did it. I put a real estate contract in the middle of it, but I was doing a real estate contract with the wholesaler.
Yeah.
Which you can't do that now, but that's how it was.
Right.
And I felt like I was taking something that was really slimy and actually, giving it, making it legit.
Right. Some validity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I tell you what, I was making, I was probably making $150,000, $200,000 a year off that. Mm-hmm. And it was really lucrative. It was a lot of fun. And I found it to be really easy. And I made almost all my leads through the local meetups.
And it's a great way that you did that, because recognizing a need, like the wholesalers, we talk about in my team, I love to hunt, right? I have the people behind me that handle the paperwork, the transaction coordination. I want to be in a living room trying to buy a house. And then I want to go to another living room and try and buy a house. The part of then, once I went and got what I want, now you've obviously got to do the dispositions. And I don't mind the disposition side, but what I love to do is go put the houses under contract. And what you did is said, oh, perfect. You go keep doing that. Let me just handle the dispositions for you.
Yeah. And we just had a meetup today, luncheon, and there was a wholesaler there, and he's like, hey, man, I got 4 properties. He goes, when do you want to take a look at them?
He's in a room. He's in a room 2 offices away from
here
right now. Talking
wish he was
talking with Kayleen. So he, they're literally having a meeting.
So what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I was at the luncheon. Yeah. Now he's down the hall talking to Kayleen.
I thought you'd be a smart ass there.
No, he really is. He's actually here 2 doors down talking with Kayleen.
Good.
In the office. I think that's what I love about the investment.
And I've done like 5 or 6 transactions with him, so his deals are always good.
Right. And so finding that edge, I love to hunt, and having somebody that is going to square that away afterwards and creating an easy button, because that's what I'm looking for, is efficiency in everything that we do. Is I talk a lot and believe in a lot in energy and outcome, and how much energy am I going to put in this, and then what is my outcome going to be. And when I got starting into real estate investing, I wanted to do everything, right? I wanted to buy them, I wanted to sell them, I wanted to rehab them, I wanted to flip, I wanted to buy apartments, and it didn't matter till I finally realized, you don't have the ability to do everything. And as much as you may be the best one on the team to be able to do all that, you've got to pick a lane. And
it takes a lot of money.
Yeah, it was hard for me. I'm a money motivated person, and so if I can do it all, I want to. But
so you got a pretty good size portfolio. So how are you deciding what you're keeping for yourself and what you're selling? I mean, what's your portfolio look like today?
Predominantly, I do a lot in South Omaha. Mm-hmm. The corridor from L Street to Harrison, from the river to 108th is kind of my stomping grounds where I like to own properties. I do a lot of marketing in that area, because I find if I do put a house under contract there, I've got ample people, If I decide I don't want it, I've always got a disposition strategy for it. 68127, 68107. If I ever get a house in there,
Are you doing mailers?
no, most of what we do is digital.
Digital.
So we've got at Next Play Homes, which is our company that buys and sells and does the on market, off market. We do a lot of digital marketing. We have a fully compliant SMS texting. So we have the ability to gather the data and put it into an AI-driven CRM, and to where it sends out the leads and does some communication for us. And then we have VAs making phone calls. We do that. We do some direct mail, and I actually just hired a young man who's in high school that this summer is him and two of his buddies are going to do door knocking for us. So we'll see how that turns out. The guy knocked on my door to sell me lawn and landscaping. I said, well, I don't want to buy that, but let me ask you a question. Is this is a business? Because he doesn't own the lawn and landscaping business. He just owns a door knocking service. He's a senior in high school.
I tell you what, I got a phone call from a gentleman trying to sell us advertising for our podcast, and I'm like, man, you are like one of the best phone sales guys I've ever heard. Like, the guy is on point. I'm like, I really want to hire you for something else than what you're doing right now.
Here's what amazed me. I've got these two young men standing on they're 17 years old, standing on my front porch trying to sell me, like I said, lawn care. The whole package, mowing and everything else. And in the brokerage model, we've talked about door knocking, right? Find a neighborhood that you want to be in, that you want to list houses in, and knock on doors and introduce yourself. And the adults, every adult in the room is, they either look at you like you're crazy, or they do this. Mm-hmm. So I can't get adults to go do door knocking, but here's two 17-year-olds standing on my porch, asking me about it. So we're gonna do that too, and I know that has been. There's a lot of people that have had a lot of success at that, but predominantly our marketing is digital.
So how many rentals do you have today?
23.
23. Single families, multifamilies?
All single families.
Okay.
All single families,
long
pretty
term?
much. And yes, we do. We do a little bit differently in the way that we do things. I don't have any standard 12-month rentals. We do where we provide our tenants an opportunity to buy the house.
All lease to own.
Mm-hmm. And it's a program that we've developed and kind of made into our philosophy, because it decreases the amount of energy that we have to put into it. Our tenants are working
And
towards ownership. That's it. We tell our tenants it's a hot water heater story. The good news is that hot water, that's your hot water heater. Now, that's the good news, is it's your hot water heater. The bad news is, if that hot water heater goes out, that is also your hot water heater, right? So don't call me. I'm not a plumber. I don't have any idea how to replace a hot water heater. And so it lowers the maintenance, and but it also gives us an opportunity to give back to the community, because we're giving somebody an opportunity to work towards home ownership that might not have had that opportunity. And I guess the other beautiful part of it is that has allowed us also to get off of the city's rental registry, because there's a purchase agreement in place. We went and sat down with the city and said, this is our process, and they have taken our properties off of the rental registry. So,
as a lease to own, does it matter if you have a note on that property, as far as with the bank? Does that play a role?
There's a way that there's a way that it has to be set up.
Okay.
And that's kind of the process that we kind of hold that we hold within our company. But,
well, it's more or less a lease with an option to buy. So it's a lease agreement, which is standard, and they have to pay you just like any other resident would. And then you have an option to buy at a strike price. So if you want to sell a property for $100,000 or $200,000, and we enter that contract, so there's the lease agreement, and then there's the option agreement. So the lease option triggers when they, like typically in this scenario, and Jeremy, I don't know if this is exactly how you've done it before, but you're going to collect an option payment, and then that is non-refundable. So if somebody gives you $5,000 for the right to buy the house at $100,000, and then they choose not to exercise that option after a year and they move out, then you get to pocket that $500 or that $5,000 as the owner of the property. It doesn't matter if you have a note on it or not, right? Because it has nothing to do with the transaction itself. You're not financing it. They're going to exercise it and then buy you out and pay off the note, right?
So what do you typically? How much do you guys get down when you do this?
It's a variable. It's I mean we've taken half down where when this the scenario plays out that way, but typically somewhere in the neighborhood of 20%.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm dealing with my very first eviction right now, and
you popped your cherry.
yeah.
Wow,
It's super fun.
Good for you.
Yeah, like you know me, I take on so many long terms, and then
Well, we went through.
So I'm thinking about this. I'm like,
we went all the way through. We went all the way through COVID. We had no vacancy, no missed rent, no missed payments, no vacancy. There's only been one scenario where we ended up with the house back, and
what was the condition of it?
The gentleman that was working through the agreement with us was here with an I-10, so working legally with an I-10 number. But unfortunately, he got pulled over and he was drinking and driving, and at that point, he was removed from the country.
Ice baby.
Yeah, they got involved, and so here's the thing: his wife came to us and said, this is a scenario, and we worked with her to make sure we made sure she got her money back, and we just basically repurposed the house.
What money does she get back in that agreement? Because technically, you should be getting all that money in this situation.
We should, but due to the circumstances, and as long as we do our job right and make sure that I don't buy a house and put it into my program unless it's one that I knew if I got back I'd be okay with. So the opportunity to just give that back, and in our process to find our tenants, we don't do any marketing, we don't do any advertising. It's all word of mouth. It's all referral, and we have found that's the best way, to do our, to find our tenants. And so, as opposed to being the person that moved somebody out and kept their money, we were the person that that helps solve a situation, and that goes miles.
This is really interesting.
All right, Jeremy, this has been amazing content. Love all the detail you provided about wholesaling and like kind of how you got started. We would love to hear if you have a situation that happened that didn't go according to plan in a section that we lovingly call.
And this Failing Forward is brought to you by REsimply.com. If you're in the real estate game like I am, you know just how wild it can get managing everything from lead tracking to marketing, sales, and operations. That's exactly where REsimply, an all-in-one software for real estate investors, comes in. It's a lifesaver for thousands of investors out there. What's incredible about REsimply is that it is packed with everything you need. List stacking, driving for dollars, automated drip campaigns, a cold call calling dialer, complete phone system, email management, speed to lead, buyer management, a comprehensive task system, accounting features, and much more. It's like a powerhouse software crafted just for us in the real estate world, eliminating the need for juggling multiple subscriptions and integrations. So check out REsimply if you want to streamline your investing business and start closing more deals. Sign up through REsimply.com/Hartman. That's RESIMPLI.com/HARTMAN. And you'll snag 50% off of your first month. Plus, they're going to throw in a 14-day trial, so don't miss out and give it a look. Failing Forward.
So the my first endeavor into getting into a big flip, one of those ones where you looked at the numbers and thought, man, this is the one.
Can't lose.
This is the one. I'm gonna slay a bear on this.
I think
one.
that
was my first one.
Everyone I
Yeah.
touch, I think that, and then, and then it takes up a year to do the contract. But
It was 5102 Jackson Street, so I still remember the
That's
address.
a good hood.
Beautiful 2.5-story Dutch colonial. Had a detached 2-car garage. It was a foreclosure. Peg Maloney had it. Put all the numbers together and bought it. It was supposed to, it was cosmetic flip, right? But as as we get into it, it has a brick foundation. Our first issue we ran into, MED comes to turn the water on, which there's a pit, and all of a sudden, like there's water coming not through the spigot, it's coming from the side of the spigot. And this is literally the second day. So when they turned the water on at the pit outside, there was a broken pipe between that pit and coming into the house. So where the drain came through the wall, the water was coming from the outside of the pipe. And I'm not a plumber, but I'm pretty sure the water belongs inside the pipe. And so no big deal, right? No big deal. We got the plumber, it was actually ended up being not bad. It was right there, minor fix. But I don't believe in that whole project. One contractor showed up on time. Nobody did what they said they were going to do, and I had thought, man, I laid out this plan. Where is everybody? All the way until we're moving towards the end of it, and and I met with a great gentleman named Roger Carroll from the city of Omaha, and said, hey, we got going on here, and we had replaced a hot water heater and pulled the permit for the hot water heater. We had used the existing framing that was in the basement and just drywalled the existing framing. And, thinking, we're not framing anything. Why would I need a framing inspection or anything else? And so the city of Omaha helped me out on that, and helped me get that house into back into shape. And after a couple months, and you and I have had a conversation about the other guy that helped me out through that with the city, and so it was I think we bought it for it was like $185,000 is what we bought it for, and sold it for $326, I believe. And the partner that I worked with that funded the deal and I split a check for about $3,400 when it was all over.
This is like my $30,000 set of stairs on the outside of my house.
I'm assuming the term "help me out" does not mean what normal people think "help me out" means.
Right. It. Who wouldn't want a hardwired smoke detector system in a house that has
that plaster and lath.
That a plaster and lath house, and we took the bottom 2 feet of the drywall off. Well, now I need to see the top. So then we had to take all the drywall off. Then we had to replace a board on the floor. And, I think we should, while we're here, we should probably put an egress window in. And it just went over and over. And it was the city's way of telling me,
hey, welcome to the neighborhood.
Right. We caught you, and so we're gonna make you understand.
Well, in the words of one of my inspectors, teach you a lesson.
And when I got done, Roger Carroll sat with me, and he goes, you did a great job. There's a lot of people who would have given up somewhere in the middle of this, but I bet it was a learning experience.
I am astounded. I've said this before, but I don't understand how city inspection departments have not just gotten sued like multiple times for giving preferential treatment to other people and then making you or someone else do something completely different on the exact same scenario. Just because it's you pissed them off, or it's Tuesday.
You feel like you're going to be on a bad day. You feel like you're going to be on the hit list forever after that.
Exactly, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. There's no consistency whatsoever, because they could be like, whatever, just it's fine. Like, I've been through these inspections before where they're like, you know what? I know you just put in new plumbing. Why don't you tear all the drywall out and insulation and everything else, and we got to see it all.
Right.
And then you're like, dude. And they're like, yep, that's how it goes. And then you'll be on another project, and they're like, you know what? You're good.
Right.
We'll grandfather that.
How is this subjective?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Isn't there one set of rules?
It shouldn't be. It should be black and white, and you should have consistency from one person to the next. I just don't understand how they don't get sued for discrimination over and over and over and over again.
What I said after that is, I said, at the end of the day, the guy that I was dealing with, he has no power anywhere else in his life. Right, he goes home, his teenage daughter, I'm sure, just yells at him, right? His wife's mad, teenage daughter's mad, kids are mad. But when he picks up that pen and that clipboard, he's in charge. Mm-hmm. And he's going to show everybody that he comes across that this is my opportunity. And I mean, And I say that I've met other people, down when, like I said, when we went to present, we've, to some other options to the city. I've ran into some great people, so it's not all of them, but the ones that want to show you they're in charge, and what are you going to do? It's
you can't. There's nothing you can do.
You're going to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to do it. But so 5102 Jackson was that was just a learning. That was my PhD, right? I got kicked out of college, but
Probably about the same amount of money with the what you went over on it.
I
right?
feel like every property I touch, I get a PhD.
But it also taught I don't flip. I know there's a lot of people out there that enjoy that process. I don't. I would rather take a small portion of the margin and let somebody else put that energy into it, than I would to deal with that, because I don't like the frustration.
I don't like flipping either.
Yeah.
But I still do it, but I don't like it.
I like it, but my wife
Do it under
my
protest.
wife really hates that we do it. Well, we're getting to the end of the podcast, and we have a section that we famously call the OT with Owen and Ted. And we got a series of questions we're going to ask you. It's going to be like Spitfire. It's going to come at you like this, and Owen's going to start off with the first one here.
What would your first book be called and or about?
It would be the title would include, I don't know exactly what it would be, but it would be about energy and outcome. Since I started looking at things with that microscope and deciding on what projects and what things I'm going to get involved in, and energy for me, it consumes everything. Energy is money, energy is time, energy is effort, energy is thought. And when you start understanding that, there was a book that I was reading that talked about, Donald Trump and the homeless guy that's sleeping outside of Trump Tower have the same amount of time in a day. So the great equalizer is 24 hours. And if you realize that 24 hours is energy, then you'll start to, it keeps me from doing projects that seem like a good idea, that end up leading to, high energy and low return. Mm-hmm. So everything that I want to do, I want to make sure that it is medium or low energy with a high return. I tell my team is you can make money being a drywaller, right? But it's really high energy and it's a very low return. And if you do something that's high energy, you can do one thing. If you do things that's low energy, you can do that thing many times in a day. Mm-hmm. So it would be something that had to do with energy and outcome.
That's good.
I need to read that book.
I'll write it. We'll get started immediately.
Please do. If you could interview anyone in the world today, who would it be, and what's the one question you want to ask them?
If I could, Tim Grover, and he wrote the book Relentless, which is, I really enjoy that book. And he was the guy that was
He was Michael Jordan's coach, right?
Right.
Or like a
Like his
performance
personal-
coach?
yeah.
Like business coach, whatever.
He's one that Michael Jordan said, I pay you this much money, not to work for me, to make sure that you can't work for anybody else. And for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and he talks about the difference between a cooler, a cleaner, and a closer, and what role those people play in an organization. And I've listened to that book a number of times. That book and Rich Dad Poor Dad, I've probably listened to both, maybe over 15, 20 times. And I think it'd be really fascinating because of the people that he spent time with, that he helps them perform at such an incredibly high level and does not apologize to them, right? You'll do what I say the way I'm going to do it, or I'm leaving. And I don't care if you're Michael Jordan or if you're Kobe Bryant or Dwayne Wade or anybody else. If you follow my system, it'll work. If you don't, I'm leaving. So if I get an opportunity to sit down with him, I think that'd be an interview I'd like to do.
That's cool. Who would you choose to deliver your eulogy, and what do you hope they're going to say about you?
The person I would is my best friend is named Jason, and he's he lives here in Omaha. He's an owner of a nurse staffing business here in town, and him and I have been friends for over 20 years. Learned an immense amount from him, and we've learned a lot together, watching him build his business, which is a very successful business, along with getting to the point where I'm building mine. So having him, that he's my best friend, he knows me, knows me better than anybody. He knows the stories to tell and which ones not to tell. what I want them to say about me is that I cared as much about helping other people as doing something for myself. And I find that whether that be my kids, my family, my clients, no matter who it is, if I give more than I take, then that's usually a pretty good that creates for a pretty good relationship. So I think I would want him to tell some of those stories.
Awesome. Jeremy, what mentor in your life has had the biggest impact on you, and how they influence your career or personal growth?
There's a couple people I think. There's one gentleman. His name is Tony, and he was a general manager that I had in the car dealership.
Oh, Caputo.
Yep, Tony Caputo. And he introduced me to. I remember sitting in his class. He came into the dealership that I already worked at, and it was Markle Ford at the time, up at the West Roads. And he took over, came in as the general manager there. Previous to that, he had a business that he traveled around the country, and he trained other dealerships on how to run a more efficient dealership. He was part of the platform where he took Saturn and helped them become a one-price dealership. And this is when one-price dealerships in the car, like, that was blasphemy, right? But I remember sitting in one of his classes the first month he was there, and he said, we're going to do personal development. We're going to listen to Tony Robbins' 31 Days of Personal Power. And that was my first experience of doing anything, that personal growth or motivational speaking. And that introduction to listening to other people in that world, reading books that have to do with personal growth, realizing there's an opportunity, to have more, to do more, and be more. And then through the course of working, with him for over 15 years, learning how to sell with a process, learning how to create alignment, learning how to manage people. I would say a lot of those skills that I learned from him. And he's not the only one in the car business. Tom Dukage was another one, Chuck Hill, just some people that, to this day, I still respect, because they taught me a lot about the sales industry. A lot of people think that sales is just walking and talking. And, there's a lot of science to it. So I'd say that.
Tony, I work out at the gym every once in a while when he's in town.
Okay.
And he just wrote his second book
about
retirement.
Right.
And so we're trying to get him on the podcast here soon. So
well, if I know Tony, you just have to catch him when he's in town.
Yep.
And I'm sure he'll be on it with you.
Yeah.
Well, if Dennis was here, he would like to ask you what you wanted to be when you grew up.
That's not hit the way he would say it.
But I already did it once. It's going to be overplayed if I do it.
When
multiple
little
times.
Jeremy was just a little wee, and then you got to be a big Jeremy. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Dennis, if you hear what he just did to your accent, you are going to love the one that I did previously that you talked smack about.
I guess at one point I wanted to play professional football, and but turns out I wasn't quite tall enough, and quite honestly didn't have the work ethic for it when I was in high school. But I really always wanted to be in sales. I've got members of my family that have worked in the sales business, and I always thought that that was something I wanted to pursue. And then once I got into it, there was an interesting story. I was in the car business for about a week and a half, and I sold an F-350 crew cab dually to a guy, and I got my commission check, and it was $1,250. Okay, and at this point, I had been bartending and hanging drywall. I hung drywall in the day and bartended at night, and I didn't make $2,500 doing both of those jobs, and I just got a check for $1,250. And it was funny because at that time in the car business, everybody who was the seasoned car guys, it was their job to try and get the new guy out, right? Because they don't want to split the pie one more way. So if they can get me to leave, then
more for them,
right? But I just got a commission check for $1,250, right? You couldn't pry me out of here with a crowbar, I was 2 weeks ago. I was hanging drywall in a 150-degree room, and now I'm wearing dress pants. I'm staying here, So sales, I always wanted to be in sales.
Nice.
My favorite part about selling cars was actually dressing up. I don't get to dress up anymore.
Well, you could. People just think you're weird.
Yeah, you can.
I remember first
Weird
time
bird.
I went to a not so nice part of town, and I was wearing a 3-piece suit. And I did that for like the first year, and they're like, "You're attracting way too much attention over here."
I remember listening to, and this really resonated. I don't remember Big Sip. Big Sip. He is down in Mississippi, but I listened to on Brandon Turner's, deal, and he talked about he had a car that was a POS that's what he took to his appointments because he didn't want anybody seeing him pull up in something nice, thinking, this guy's making too much money. I'm like, that's smart. Hey, I'm just eking along.
Yeah. Well, how can our listeners support you, and what's the best way for them to reach out to you? And also, this is a 3-parter. What are you looking for in your business right now? Like if somebody catching this, happens to fit in with what you're looking for.
Sure. I think what we're looking for right now, and what we're building is trying to build a duplicatable machine. So as opposed to a process that changes, with every time the market changes. But so we're looking to build our buyers list. With some of the buyers that we've talked about. I appreciate working with everybody. If somebody's new, I was going to talk about when we were having that conversation. I would just rather prefer somebody say, I'm really new at this. Right now I'm trying to get more into apartments, and I don't try and portray myself as somebody who knows everything about apartments. Hey, I'm a little bit new at this, but I think I've got a pretty good deal here. Do you mind going with it? Going through it with me together. So working with people, like that, but also finding the buyers that are consistent, that will say, yes, that deal works for me. No, that deal doesn't work for me. Just so we have an efficient buyers list. Mm-hmm. We're in the process of refining our website at nextplayhomes.com. Like I said, we plan on making a digital buyers list so that we can just be more efficient in what we're doing. We have that. That's an excellent part of our business that I love. Recently, myself, along with some other people that have been on the podcast, Kim and Tim Stevens, and then there is Jim Marriott, and then there's Steve and Jenny Menino. We got together in January, and we purchased a Realty One franchise here in town. Incredibly excited about it. We have an office in Omaha, an office in Lincoln. We're looking at expanding into an Iowa office right now as well. We have increased our agent count. When we purchased it, there was 37 agents, and we're about to cross 80 agents. So we have taken a stance where we want to work with people who are in the investment side of real estate. I think there's not every place is as welcoming to the investment side of real estate, and we really want to lean into that. So if there's somebody out there that's looking to get their real estate license because they want to be able to do the wholesaling and the investment correctly, we'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you and tell you why this brokerage is the place for them. We built this podcast studio. We're very excited about. You guys have been a part of it. We did this wall over here, and it got done. And I think we all got an opportunity to kind of look at it and say, "Wow!" And this really turned out well. So. Really taking an opportunity to build this brokerage as well, and it's been an amazing experience for the last 3 months.
Well,
awesome.
I first met you in 1996,
Yes.
and who knows who ever thought that 24 years later we'd be sitting here right now. But thank you for that coming in. I appreciate the partnerships we've created personally with the real estate side, but also with REIA and the podcast studio. So thank you so much for all this opportunity. And, if we'll have the links if you want to learn more about Jeremy in the podcast notes, so definitely check that out. But before we conclude here, we do have a review I'd like to throw out here. But on our Apple, Bob Mills titled this "Absolute Gem of a Podcast." Don't you love how you did that? What started out as an entertaining, insightful way to learn about the local real estate community has developed into a meaningful walkthrough finance, business insight, personal development, growth mindset, and accountability. Owen and Ted consistently find lessons learned and make me better. Oh, that should be on anyone's curated podcast rotation. So awesome. Review, thank you, Bob. And please leave us reviews on whatever format you listen to us. It really means a lot to us. And now we have 107 reviews, which 106 are 5-star reviews, and there's one 4-star. So with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of REIA Radio, Dennis Bertrand, Devin Holcomb, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner. You've been listening to Jeremy from Carson, Iowa, to car dealerships to creative finance, Murray. Signing off.